Germany are through to the knockout stages. Switzerland also looking good for the next phase, and they meet this Sunday coming. Scotland know they have to win against Hungary if they are to progress. Well, we just saw a shot of the two managers there at the end, Murat Yakin and Steve Clarke, and I think the overriding impression from that image was great relief on Steve Clarke's face, but it was much improved. They improved actually as the game went on and finished strongly, Stephen. That'll do their confidence the world of good going into that Hungary game.
Yeah, the question marks are going to be how they react after Germany. Can they come out and put in a performance that's shown why they got there? They're not just going to turn up and turn over against a very decent Switzerland team, and they didn't let them play. Didn't let Xhaka dictate the tempo of the game. And the second half, they were physical. They got off the game with question mark. Ross in the first half, he was better in the second half as well. They cut out those silly mistakes, limited chances, and it was an all-round much better performance. Something they can take confidence in, and to be able to get your mindset to turn around and go into a game and give yourself a fighting chance going into the last group game is huge for them. And now they know they have an opportunity to go and win that last game and have a chance of going through potentially in third place.
Rishi, it was undoubtedly difficult to bounce back from a 5-1 beating and the humiliation that followed and the criticism that followed. And it was a nervy start by Scotland, but as the game wore on, they began to look a bit more like themselves, didn't they?
Yeah, you could understand the nerves if they were there. You can understand the relief in Steve Clarke if that's what he was feeling. But can you imagine what it's been like being in that Scotland camp for the last few days? Like, it's been open season in those Scotland players. You can say what you like about them. You can be as disparaging, as mocking, drag their record up and throw it all at these players. And in fairness, they've obviously stuck together. There was no public comments by anyone in the group pointing the finger at one another. Every single person I heard from put their hands up and said, we let ourselves down. It's completely on us, and that's the response. Like, I don't think you can overstate how difficult Friday was, psychologically and emotionally, but physically as well. Remember, they had 10 men for a half of the game, so they got the run around. So to go from that, whatever depth that was after Friday night, to produce that's brilliant.
Yeah, it is brilliant, and we got to remember that Switzerland convincingly beat Hungary 3-1, so they're no mugs. So that result for Scotland tonight will be good for them. And I'm just thinking of Steve Clarke, because he said in his press conference yesterday, I may have given the players too much information ahead of the Germany game. I think he also implied that he was giving the media a little bit too much information prior to the start of the tournament. Yeah. So he cut back on all of that, and it appears that he concentrated on his players. And he seemed to get them in a good place, Steve. Yeah,
I think Clarke's comments were, any good manager will try and take some of the pressure off the players. And by him saying I gave him too much information, or I was asking him to do too much, if that was the case, fair enough. But today they just simplified it. You go out, you work hard, everybody put a shift in, everybody try and win the ball back. We play to our strengths. Don't overcomplicate things. When we kind of pass it, we pass it. Gilmore came in, and for a moment in the game when they needed a calm influence just to pass the ball leading up to that goal, he was there. So, that was a positive, and that change they made had an influence in the game. But I think all round they became really proud of the players, because, like I said, to come back from such a humiliating defeat in the opening game and to get your heads up and to get into this game. And the Swiss team are a very good side, very experienced team all throughout the side, and they could have nicked at the end. They really could. Unbelievable chance with a header back from Robertson, which I'm sure we're going to look at. But all round, to get themselves back in the position where they have a slim chance of going through is a huge, huge result.
And for the supporters as well, they're now going to get their money's worth. They're going to be in the competition at least up until the final day of the group stage, which is what they would have hoped coming here. The best case scenario for them is that they win on Sunday night against Hungary and they finish up with 4 points. Then they have a wait to see whether 4 points will be enough to get them through. Their goal difference obviously is going to work against them, but that's the dream scenario now, which would have been kind of unthinkable if you'd have spoke to them on Saturday morning after the night before.
Yeah, we'll talk about some more of the positives of that performance, but I suppose, Stephen, it is a bit of a blow that it looks like Tierney has done his hamstring. That's another player now. Well, if it's his hamstring, he could be out for the rest of the tournament.
He's gone. It's hard. Tierney, he's suffered so much with injuries, and such a promising player when he got his move to Arsenal as well, and that just hasn't worked out, which his injuries has hampered him. He's back up playing this season. He's an important important cog in that back three. Good balance to the left-hand side of the way they play, and him and Robertson have always linked really well. So yeah, he's an important cog that they're going to miss if they go into that last game. But listen, whoever came in, McKenna came in this game and did well, had opportunities to get in the game and find his feet in what was a physically demanding, high-tempo game when he came into it. And you know, it's tough to adjust to that situation. He came in and put a good account for himself. That one kind of tussle with Mbolo where he just thought, I want to take him down here, took an early booking. But I think Scotland, you know, the players that have had to come in have done themselves well, done themselves justice. And yeah, it's a blow for Tierney, but you've got to look at what you have and take the positives from it.
Yeah, when you look though at the Scotland bench, Richie, Steve Clarke doesn't have brilliant options, not like some of the top nations at the Euros who have almost 2 players of equal strength in every position, the likes of Portugal, Germany, England, you'd add into that group as well. But Scotland's certainly not in that category.
They're nowhere near that category, to be honest. And if you look at the squad, if you look at, like, even in attacking areas, I said beforehand, and we saw it in the second half, their main attacking threat seemed to come from set pieces. They found it difficult from open play to trouble the goalkeeper. And if you were to take Adams off, you're looking at Shankland. If you go beyond that, like Lewis Morgan, Tommy Conway, you're talking players with minimal, like the very least international experience and not expected to perform at this level. So he doesn't have a great hand, which is why, again, to go back to the Germany defeat, the defeat to Germany was inevitable. The performance was the most disappointing. The performance tonight was secondary to the importance of the result. They needed something, and I think they got a result, but they also got with it a performance which will help them tell themselves that they've now banished the memory of Friday and they're back on track and they're a group of good players and they can go and get a result on Sunday.
For Scotland to be in a position where first game was Germany, second game Switzerland, and what was the outcome going to be? Were they going to be in a position where to have 1 point on the back of those games? Listen, you don't want to be negatively about it, but you're thinking squad depth, which you mentioned, you're talking about quality of players, which you have. That's realistically, that's probably the most thing you could.
The height of your ambitions will be, we're still in it going into the final group game.
That. And you don't say that to the players, or the players don't believe that. But realistically, from us looking in, you're going 1 point on the back of those games. Take away the fact that the Germany game was an awful performance and they were really outdone. 1 point at this stage is probably realistic to where it could be.
Yeah, they've openly said before the tournament that 4 points is a realistic target because it's enough that they think will get them out of the group. So they're absolutely still on course for that. In a way, Friday is now, like, it is irrelevant because it's gone.
Yeah, it has
the
to be
goal difference they're still suffering from.
But
if they get the 3 points against Hungary, they've got the 4 points, which you would hope would probably be enough for them. They'll have a little bit of a wait to find out whether it is or not.
Yeah, but I think even if any of the fans were beginning to drift, I think they got them right back on side this evening. So a good result for Scotland this evening, getting back on track with that 1-1 draw.
Andy, thank you.
Yeah, that smile on his face suggested that he was looking forward to a good night's sleep, because they possibly had a few restless evenings since the defeat against Germany, but they'll sleep a lot better tonight. And Stephen, on a day like this, on a night like this, you need the experienced players to stand up and be counted, and particularly the captain. And Andy Robertson did that, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. Those players that have been in huge games for club and country, but to have your captain come out and identify situations happened in a game like Ralston, we were just talking off air, like, that will go so far with him as a player, because you have someone like Andy Robertson, who's a Champions League winner, he's a Premier League winner, and he's coming out and backing you and saying, listen, you made a mistake, but you showed heart and you showed desire and you showed a willingness to get on with it, because we were talking about him here and he looked like he was crumbling in the first half, and we said that was going to have to change. Steve Clarke stuck with him and he came out and he put in a better performance, but the whole team lifted and got around them, and that's a huge moment for a captain to get out and back your team, because that just lifts you within the team. It shows the camaraderie and spirit that they have, which is great, I think.
He was in very different and really difficult circumstances. He gave a brilliant post-match interview after the game of Friday night, but to have the presence of mind there to realise the impact of his words and the impact that it would have on everyone watching and listening, that actually Ralston recovered really well. So the people are now thinking of the recovery and are long forgetting the mistake. Like, that's brilliant captaincy.
It is.
Yeah, Andy Robertson, well, we've seen him do that for many times, even in the Liverpool jersey. He's very articulate, very thoughtful, and it will mean the world to Ralston, because it's got to be tough for a player when you're, I mean, he would know he was having a really bad game in front of a global audience and a lot of focus on him, probably imagining the criticism that was coming down the line. So to get the support of the captain like that is great.
It's huge. And I said, to get the support of captain is one, but to get support of a captain that's done so much in the game, I think, and that probably has a huge pull and aura. You talk about players that have this when you go in and you meet them for the first time, or you play with them and they have something about them that's special. Robertson has that in that Scottish team. So for him to come out and give that backing to him is huge. And listen, it was a bad mistake, but it was made worse the fact that Shaqiri went and smashed in the top corner, which was a ridiculous finish. So it didn't help. There was worse mistakes almost made before that, but Shaqiri exacerbated the situation. But great from Robertson to go in and address it. And literally, again, it's like the Germany game. It's put to bed now. It's gone, and you can move on.
OK, let's get down to the nitty-gritty of the performance. And first of all, we're going to start with what you think, Richie, would possibly be Scotland's best route to goal, and that is via the set pieces, because they did threaten on occasion from those dead ball situations tonight.
They did. If you go back to half-time, you think there wasn't many opportunities where they tested the goalkeeper from open play. And listen, you think if a set-piece situation like that, it's got to be better. That is an example of the threat that they can pose. Hanley hits the post, but it's down to the quality of the delivery. Like, it has to be better than that one there. You've got to be able to clear the near post and the man guarding the near post, because they're not a team that can open up teams. They're not a team that have such a varied attack line that they can cause all sorts of problems. Their best route to goal is some set pieces, so the quality of the delivery has to be spot on.
Yeah, because certainly early in the game they didn't create much from open play. But we always know that there's a goal in Scott McTominay, and that can come from open play. He almost got one.
Yeah, he does, and he catches this so well. He's a player who he seems to deliver for Scotland time after time in big moments in games, and this one recycles, comes back out to him, and he just gets his leg up. First time, he absolutely connects. It's brilliant. I actually think it comes off Shea Adams in the box, bounces around a little bit, and they can't get a second effort on goal from it. But, you know, the reaction from him, he's getting himself in the boxes. It makes the first contact, the header, which actually keeps him alive. But then to get his leg up like this, to get the contact, and then to be there, you know, disappointing not for it, ended up back in there for him. And he said he got the goal in the first half. And this one here, Robertson puts this in an unbelievable position. Akanji, I think, has been sensational all night long. Has been brilliant for Switzerland. Is in an amazing defensive position here, because McTominay once again is in the right spot, right behind him to tap this in. And this is a game-saving tackle for Akanji, because that's McTominay tapping that in. That's in extra time, and they go on to win that game.
Yeah. By the way, the goal, which was initially announced as an own goal to Fabian Schär, has been awarded to Scott McTominay. Yes, Manuel Akanji, the player of the match, and when he reaches retirement, he could probably go into the role of pundit on Swiss television, because he correctly identified that they had chances to win it, but they were profligate in front of goal, Stephen. Yeah,
he teased us up nicely for our next piece. He really did, but no, it was. They got into great positions out on this left-hand side as well, but, you know, working the ball well, finding the space, picking the pass out, and then 1v1. You do so well to create the chance, and then you try and whip it in. This one, he actually gets on target, keeps it low, keeper's right behind us, so it's not the contact you want. Ball over the top here now, good touch, spin, and just wasteful. Like, that's a golden opportunity that you feel this team should be taking. This is Vargas on the left-hand side, and as he takes him on, he comes inside Ralston, opens up his body, and you can tell Akanji said it, he's trying to aim for that top corner. It's probably right to lift it, but he just puts too much on it, and it's a great position to test the goalkeeper again. Very similar situation this time round, and this is Ndoye, and he puts over the bar. This is probably the best one in a lot. Absolutely unbelievable, golden opportunity. Very similar to the cross that Hanley hits off the post, but that's the substitute comes on and puts it wide, and that was a glaring chance. That was just before, I think, Hanley hit the post, and another unbelievable opportunity for them.
Like, it's a huge point for Switzerland. Like, pre-match, all we kept saying was that Scotland couldn't afford to lose, that they'd be out. If Switzerland lost that game tonight, they would have gone into the final game against Germany
on 3 points,
something. And that's not a situation you want to be in. If you're going into your final game against Germany knowing you can't afford to lose, you're bang in trouble. So they got the point, which was crucial for them.
OK, Scotland picked up a few bookings, which is risky considering the shallow nature of their squad. The one that Scott McTominay received, Richie, you want to talk about this in relation to, I think, well, he's picked this up for dissent.
Yeah, there's a new rule, a new directive come in. The players are told that the referee will communicate openly to the captain of each team, and he will attempt to explain his decisions as well as he can to the captain of each team. And the other players are not to surround him, not to all the usual stuff, harassing and giving out. And I think McTominay here gets booked because he obviously approached the referee and said something. And I like this. I'm glad that we're taking a move away from the referee being seen as a legitimate target for you to vent. Just if you're just pissed off at what you did or a decision he made, or you're frustrated, you can just go, do you know what, I'm going to roar at him and surround him. And that's not good enough anymore. Yeah. It never was good enough, but I think it's right now that you should make steps like this to remove it. And the only way you're going to do it is by punishing players like this. So bring it on.
Yeah, I love this, honestly, because we're both sitting here, we're talking about it. I'm sure as players, we've both got in refs' faces and screamed at them. But would you have done it if you're going to get booked and you're going to cost your team a card?
We were told to do it.
Yeah, we were told,
you make your stadium as intimidating as possible for the away fans, which
and the referee.
Our club did that really well. For the opposition,
I'm not surprised at Millwall,
which is your job as a team, but also the officials.
Yeah.
And you do that, but you just get in their face. And you intimidate them.
Yeah, it is,
and you roar at them. And you keep reminding them that they're making mistakes. And you try and do it just the right side of the line that you don't get in trouble. So you maybe censor your language, or you're careful with the tone you use. But they're seen as targets. And now, thankfully, they're not.
It's also as well the trickle-down factor of this in the grassroots. And like I coach my son's team, and you see on a weekly basis the venom and the vitriol that's spit at referees from you, and it's awful. And you can think if it stops at the top level, that will come down, because people will start to get a bit of respect, and there's a no tolerance policy on it. Then that will have a massive effect.
Because the argument you would have had in the past was, you can maybe get in their head and influence decisions, but players' objections or pleas now are becoming redundant, because the referee is just looking at the footage. And technology is helping the referee come to the right decision, or a decision. It doesn't need input from the players anymore. So it's even more of a reason just to...
But there doesn't actually appear to be as much of it now as there was, we say, in the late 90s and early 90s, when it seemed to be the thing to do. I mean, we saw it in big matches, particularly in the Premier League.
You see players, the whole teams would surround referees now. But like I said, it will stop by the fact that they know they're going to get punished from it, because you don't want to get yellow card. And like I said, as a players, we've all been in those positions before where you get irate, you get angry, and you vent at the referee. But if you know you're going to get booked from it, you have to contain yourself. You have to control your emotions in that situation, and that's really important.
So a real frustration. Sure, I wasn't the only. A real frustration is when you try to communicate with the referee and you just get shut. You just get get away, little boy. But now, they're saying, you work with us, we'll work with you. So you don't surround us. If the captain comes up, we will make an effort to thoroughly and comprehensively explain why we made the decision we just made. So that kind of removes all that frustration of being...
Well, it has worked for a long, long time in rugby, as we know. So it's a good move, really, the introduction of this rule. And
there's a few cultural differences between football and rugby.
Everybody can learn respect.
Yeah,
I mean, that's the bottom line. OK, we got to move on, because while McTominay may have picked up a booking, he'll be pleased now that he's been awarded the goal. So let's have a look at that goal from Scott McTominay again in the first half. Took a wicked deflection. That's why it was initially awarded to Fabian Schär. But it was a great move by Scotland initially.
Yeah, it was. It was, again, a break from a defensive corner kick. That really good touch there by McGinn. And how often have Scotland relied on a forward run by this player on the ball, Andy Robertson, and an arrival then perfectly on cue from McTominay. He's awarded the goal, you've just told us there. It obviously relied a huge amount to the intervention of the defender right in front of him, but Scotland won't care. It's exactly what they needed. My fear going into this game was that they would concede an early goal if they went 1-0 down. Like, think of how much that would have been a stress test on all their pre-game tournament of, like Andy Robertson said, let's just get back to being us. Let's get back to doing what we can do. Had they gone a goal down, my God, that would have tested them.
Yeah, it certainly would. By the way, would you agree that should be awarded to Scott McTominay when it changed direction, which originally was the older rule, as it were. It was going straight into the arms of the goalkeeper. Everybody could see that.
I think it's now, once it's on target, it's your goal, basically. That's the rule. And listen, who's going to be there to deny Scott McTominay getting a goal in an international competition like this?
It's daft. That sentence, McTominay's goal, is completely daft. Yes, it's an adherence to the current rule, but you can't look at that and go, that's all McTominay.
No.
All I'm saying is, if that was me and I scored and I took the biggest deflection ever, I'd be delighted to take it. So if you take it off me, I'd be gutted. So that's...
OK, but no question as to who the Swiss goal was being awarded to. And Shaqiri, once again, I mean, we've seen him do this time and time again. And as I said, he's the first European player to score in 6 consecutive major championships. A remarkable record. It
is. And we highlight the mistakes, and Scotland give the ball away really cheaply here, but there's still so much to do here. And when he steps onto it, just the way he hits the ball, he spins it around, starts outside the post. It really is sensational strike, and it's poor play, but this just made the situation worse for Scotland because there's not many players that can do that. And in this Swiss team, you look at the bend on
That's the angle there. You can just see the precision and the accuracy of it. He hurt himself there trying to do a knee slide. He went awful. But the
he's
finish...
getting on now. You need to cut that sort of stuff out.
But listen, he deserved. This is the thing. Your question is why he's starting in that team and what can he bring to it. That's what he can bring. He can bring moments like that other players on the pitch can't do.
Yeah, okay.